Hello, I am Xarkun and this is World of Warships Legends. Today I bring you my first impressions review of the new premium Tier 6 German destroyer Z-35. In this video we will go over my mod selection, my commander choice, we'll also look at a key consumable on this ship, then we'll jump into some gameplay, talk about the stats, and how the ship plays. I will say right off the bat, I really like it. Anyway, mod selection. Aiming Systems Mod 1 in the first slot, Propulsion in the second slot, and of course Concealment in the third slot. Commander is Eric Bay with Swirsky and Sims as inspirations, and take a look here at the Sonar Stats for the Z-35. Detection of ships, 5 kilometers. That's the longest detection range of any sonar on any destroyer at the tier, apart from, I think, the Z-39, which has exactly the same detection range, although I don't have that ship, so it is difficult for me to compare. What does this translate to in reality? Well, first up, note that with this build, I have the concealment down to 5 kilometers exactly, which is exactly the same range as the ship detection range of the sonar. So, very long range, we're able to spot this T-61 4.9 kilometers away from us inside of his smoke, and I think if I had Bay and Swirsky at higher levels, I could get the concealment down under 5 kilometers, maybe 4.9, 4.8, and that would allow me to use the sonar from stealth and get a couple extra, maybe an extra second on any destroyer rushing me. I'd be able to see them before they could see me. So that's very powerful. And in fact, this is one of the stealthier destroyers at the tier in terms of base and in terms of what you can do with the concealment mod and Bay and Swirsky as inspirations. I think only the IJN destroyers, Akatsuki and Asashio at the tier, are more stealthy than this in detectability by sea and detectability by air. So keep that in mind because that goes into making this destroyer as powerful as I think it is. Anyway, on to the main event, domination mode game on the Neighbors map in the Z-35. This ship has 19,100 hit points at base, which is higher than any other tech tree tier 6 destroyer. And of course, I have that up to 21,020 with the Sims inspiration. So that's quite a robust hit points pool for a tier 6 destroyer. The guns, it's got 5 of them, 128mm guns. They have a 10.8 kilometer range, which is on the higher end of the range spectrum, rivaling things like Le Terrible and the Minsk. The base reload time is 3.8 seconds, which is a smidge faster than this ship's tech tree counterpart, the Moss, but I've got it down to 3.5 seconds with the Bay build. And the only things that reload faster are the Kid and the Benson. 22.5 second turret traverse time, though, which is right on par with other German DDs. Pretty slow. Got that down to 16.8 with the use of twist and track on Bay. And the damage of these guns, pretty anemic in terms of the HE Alpha Strike, only 1,500 with a 6% fire chance. But of course, these are German DDs, so they do have pretty anemic HE. Although the rate of fire is pretty good and makes up for it, you just need a little bit more time to take things out. Case in point, the Benson that we've spotted coming into this cap. Note we're going to deploy our smoke and use the sonar, employing that nasty German destroyer smoke and sonar combo. This is going to allow us to keep the Benson spotted, meanwhile he cannot see us, and we are able to shoot him with our HE. You can see it might not do as much damage as you'd expect, but it will get the job done, especially in a situation like this, where the enemy destroyer can't shoot back at you. And by the way, the Benson does have a better DPM with its HE than this thing does. I think it's far better. I haven't really done the math, but basically, if you see a German destroyer, particularly this one, do not rush it. It can smoke up, and it can spot you from 5 kilometers out, which is probably going to be enough time for it to take you down. Unless, of course, you launch torpedoes into the smoke screen, but naturally, the sonar picks up those torpedoes and gives you advanced warning so you can dodge. That's part of the reason this destroyer is as powerful as it is. The AP, which we don't get to test out in this game, does have the highest alpha strike for any destroyer with this caliber of guns at the tier. It rivals the Moss at 3,000 maximum damage. I don't really know how effective it is. I haven't been able to test it out very well, but like other German destroyers, I assume it is pretty darn effective. So you probably should be using it to shoot at broadside battleships and cruisers whenever possible. The Torpedoes, as you can see, we landed some on that other battleship a little bit earlier, and now we've landed some on the King George. It has 8 torpedoes in 2 quadruple launchers. They reload in 90 seconds, which is fairly average, and of course you can get that down much lower if you want to build this ship for torpedoes, but I don't really think you do. I really do think Eric Bay is the best commander choice for this ship, due in large part to Twist and Track, which is an extremely useful skill on destroyers of this kind, not only because it shows you the direction in which the nearest enemy ship is located, which makes hunting enemy destroyers that much easier, but also because it buffs the rather sluggish turret traverse on these guns. A lot of people forget that aspect, and turret traverse on a destroyer like this is very important. It ups your DPM and makes you more effective in close-range gunfights because you don't have to spend as much time turning your turrets to get them on target. The Torpedoes, though, that's what we were talking about. 90-second reload, 13,700 maximum damage, which is actually fairly low, like most of the other German destroyers. They have fairly quick reloading torpedoes, but they don't do a whole lot of damage. They do have a good range, though, at 9 kilometers, and they are quite fast at 65 knots. The Aaa Specs on this ship, I don't want to get into too much detail. It's got an overall AA rating of 25, and it seems to me to be fairly middle of the road, but frankly, I just don't see a lot of carriers, so I still don't think these stats are all that relevant. Maneuverability characteristics, you might notice that this ship does not have a speed boost, which is interesting because on the PC, it is a Tier 7 premium destroyer, and apparently it comes with British destroyer smoke, that short-duration smoke screen with more charges than usual. Obviously, it does not get that in Legends, and I think that smoke on PC is the reason it doesn't have an engine boost, so it's a little bit baffling to me that it doesn't have one here, but it gets the typical German smoke. I don't know exactly what the explanation is. Then again, the sonar is so very powerful, so trading the engine boost is really not all that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. The 37.6 knot top speed is what you'll be stuck with unless you want to buff it with commander inspirations or something like that, and that's fairly average amongst destroyers at the tier. It's not terribly quick, but it's not terribly slow. Turning circle 670 meters, which is at the higher end of the spectrum for destroyers, and the rudder shift is 4.4 seconds, which is pretty middle of the road, but also pretty solid. So how does this ship play? It's pretty much a hybrid gunboat torpedo boat. Both the guns and torpedoes are effective, although they do have things holding both of them back, such as the low alpha strike on both the torpedoes and the HE. Nevertheless, with this sonar, this is a very effective ship. These torpedoes are fast, and you can land a lot of them. I like this ship a lot. I think it's very powerful for countering enemy destroyers, and it's fairly good at dealing a lot of damage to battleships and potentially cruisers. If you can get a lightly armored cruiser at close range with this excellent AP, you'll find that it has a very good alpha strike, and provided it can penetrate things like lightly armored cruisers, then it's going to do a lot of damage to them very quickly. And you could always get up close to a cruiser within about 5 kilometers, smoke up, and then use the guns on their broadside that way safely. Of course, you'll have to be careful that it's not a radar cruiser, or else another German cruiser like, say, the York, because that does also have the German sonar with the long detection range for enemy ships. This game, though, I think we do need to talk about it. For a long time, my team over there on Charlie was so very hesitant to push in. They finally have, and they've taken that cap. The only thing standing in their way was, I think, a single enemy battleship and a cruiser, so I'm not sure what took them so long, but better late than never. Meanwhile, I'm here on the other flank trying to deal with, I believe, a New Mexico and a Pensacola. They've taken the Alpha Cap. I am not going to be able to take it with them in the area, so I'm going for Bravo instead. There is also an enemy Orkan out there, and he was doing some open water gunboat nonsense behind my team. I think they have yet to shoot at him, which is why I was furiously pinging him on the map to get somebody to notice him and maybe take a shot at him. Sent some torpedoes at the New Mexico on my way to Bravo. They are able to hit, and we are able to take that New Mexico down with the flooding. Things are looking pretty dire, though, in this game. The enemy has a commanding points lead, and they still do hold 2 of the 3 caps. We would like to change that, but the King George V is coming in. So we're going to try to use our concealment to our advantage here. We still have 1 spread of torpedoes available to send at the King George, and we're going to smoke up right now before he detects us. Start shooting at him. We do get the high caliber medal. I think these German HE, or these German guns, have the improved German HE penetration. I'm not sure. I haven't exactly tested it out, but they do seem to pen pretty well on battleships and cruisers. Better than other destroyers with small caliber guns like this anyway. I don't know if it's the quarter pen or if it's something else, but I do think they have the improved German penetration. There I am again pinging that Orkan, by the way, who continues to shoot open water, which I guess you can do with that ship, but I don't think it's advisable since you don't really have a way to disengage and it's not incredibly fast. Anyway, we did have to abandon our smoke screen because the Pensacola is undoubtedly coming for us and we don't want to get caught by him. Somebody finally takes the Orkan down, which just leaves us with the Pensacola and that primal battleship on the enemy team. He looks like he's not going to be around for too much longer. A little bit tempted to shoot at him and try to finish him off, but I am on relatively low health right now, and a couple of the salvos from the Pensacola would probably be enough to finish me off and take me out, and I don't think it's a good idea for me to die. Even though it's a Pensacola here versus 2 battleships and 2 destroyers, you never know what might happen. I noticed the Pensacola appears to be sailing in a straight line, so I'm going to send some torpedoes his way. I think one of them is going to connect, and that'll be the last little bit of damage we do for this game. Bit of a frustrating game, actually, if you were paying attention to it. My team didn't do exactly what I wanted them to, so there was a lot of legwork that had to be done on my part, but it's all going to work out in the end. That Pensacola is going to go down, and we are going to win. So, Z-35, pretty effective destroyer for countering other destroyers. That smoke and sonar combo is dangerous, especially if you want to spec for even more concealment than my current build is capable of producing. You should be able to use that sonar from stealth, which will allow you to get the jump on pretty much anything. And the guns, they have a quick rate of fire, kind of low HE alpha strike, good penetration though, middling fire chance. They aren't really reliable as far as setting fires, at least not in comparison to other destroyers, but you know, they are pretty effective, and as you can see, they have no problem whatsoever punching through the Pensacola's armor. No shatters of any kind. AP also seems to, well, it definitely has a good alpha strike. I think it's probably got the same good characteristics as the rest of the German destroyer AP, and it's something I'm going to try to employ as I continue to play this ship, really test it out and get a better idea. Frankly, I just don't know exactly how effective it really is. But I really like this ship. I think it's incredibly strong. It is excellent at winning games because of its ability to dominate cap control with that all-important smoke sonar combo. And it's got a better smoke sonar combo than your typical German destroyer with the long spotting range on the sonar. So this is, in fact, a very good premium, at least in my opinion. I think it's one of the better ones they've released in a while, and if you enjoy the German destroyer playstyle, this is definitely one you want to pick up and buy. I think, again, it's a very powerful destroyer, and should Tier 6 ranked ever come back to the game, this might be a very, very solid, very powerful pick for competitive battles. So, I like it a lot. Hope you guys enjoyed my take on it. If so, give it a thumbs up, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Goodbye.